Ladies and gentlemen, if you've been following my channel for a while now, then you'll know that the developers for Rise of Kingdoms will periodically address questions and concerns that the players have over on the official Rise of Kingdoms Discord. And as you can see, the most recent face-to-face with the developers was posted on January 27th. I don't know how I missed this face-to-face with the developers post. Typically there's a ping that goes out, and I don't know if I just missed it or if it didn't happen, but as of covering yesterday's update patch notes, which if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that video out, this new face-to-face with the developers was brought to my attention. And so today we're going to cover all of the new things that the developers have addressed, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on everything. But first, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Now, as you guys know, I am a partnered creator with Rise of Kingdoms, which means they support a few videos on the channel every single month, just like this one. But the most important support comes from you guys dropping a thumbs up on the video and subscribing down below, because 65% of you guys are not subscribed. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's just jump right into this. I'm like a week late, which is just crazy. Hello, governors. Welcome to another face-to-face with the developers. In this face-to-face with the developers, we'll be looking at some of the most hotly discussed issues that emerged during our most recent community gathering in Vietnam. Thank you to everyone who reached out to us. We hope we'll be able to answer your most burning questions. If you have any thoughts or questions about what we discussed today, please don't hesitate to voice them in the community. Your feedback will continue to be invaluable as we fine-tune our plans for the future. I feel like they actually have been listening to a lot of our feedback in the past couple of months, which has been really nice. Question one: what are some future plans that the Rock team can share with us today? Currently, we're working on introducing the new formation switch feature, shortening the idle period between KvK seasons, and releasing a new large-scale multiplayer battle mode, which I'm excited to see what that is. That sounds really cool. Now, as you guys know, they're basically recapping what they discussed at the Vietnam in-person event, and that means that was a few weeks ago. We already have the formation switch feature in the game in the form of these conversion stones here. You can convert legendary armaments into armaments of the same type for other formations, so I assume that that's what they're referring to here. They go on to say updates regarding armaments are also on our agenda. Some players mention that the armaments obtained from bundles don't provide any improvements to their power. To address this, we're exploring a new feature similar to transmutation and forging for armaments. We're also reviewing the effects of crystal technologies in Season of Conquest and considering further optimization. So really big news with that, like just those few sentences right there. First of all, I agree. One of the things that I hated about armaments and still don't like about armaments is that they are so random, right? And so you can spend a lot of gems, for example, on the armament reveal thyself event. You can spend lots of gems here on tickets and also refreshing here, and a lot of times you'll just get armaments that are not very good, right? As you can see, I've participated over on a live stream. If you guys missed my live stream, then you're probably not following me on Twitch or my second channel. Both of those are going to be in the description below, but I did live stream some of this armament reveal thyself, so don't miss it. Again, also I post on Discord when I go live, so go ahead and join my Discord if you don't want to miss it. But my point is, there's a lot of opportunities to either spend gems or real money on armaments, and because they're so random, it feels like you're kind of just spending money to recycle them, right? Which does get you some currency, but it doesn't feel very good to do that. So a feature similar to transmutation and forging sounds really good. What would that actually look like, right? Like right now, transmuting an armament, like using transmutation stones, simply re-rolls the armament stats that are provided, right? And you know, there's the lock feature, which does help a little bit, because if you get something good, you can lock it, but then you only have 10 resets, so like it still doesn't feel great. The transmutation crystals kind of helped with that, but they're still really rare. So you know, with forging, what would forging armaments look like? We don't really have forging for armaments, but maybe they're referring to like maybe something like refining for our equipment, where you have like a refinement level, and maybe you can sort of like reforge armaments and you get progress towards a stat that you really want, right? Maybe it's something like that. I mean, this is all purely speculation. I'm just trying to understand what would forging an armament actually look like, right? Like, is there going to be a way that you can maybe just build, like just get the exact armament you want? That would be really nice. So all in all, this sounds really good. Obviously, like I said, we already know that they're adding they've already added the armament conversion stones, so more ways to just get the stats and inscriptions that we want here is really exciting. It's also the case that maybe you can just refine a particular armament and then at a certain point you just get an inscription for it, right? That could be really cool. Like maybe players aren't having that hard of a time getting the stats that they want, but maybe it's more so the inscriptions that they want, right? Like the rares and legendaries. That's obviously that's where the money is right there, right? So we'll have to wait and see. The second part of this too, the effects of Crystal Tech in Season of Conquest is really exciting, that they're finally considering changing this potentially and optimizing it even further. As you guys know, if you watched my update video yesterday, they did announce in a new upcoming KVK that they're going to be doing coalition technology, right? And so we don't know if in that KVK there's going to be also Crystal Tech and coalition technology, or maybe they're going to be simply replacing Crystal Tech with coalition tech, and that's going to be sort of the new hybrid system. Who knows, right? I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt if they're going to do coalition tech, they'll probably also have Crystal Tech as well. But you know, the fact that they are finally going back to Crystal Tech and reviewing it and seeing what exactly they can do to maybe optimize this and make it a little bit better for all players, because as you guys know, Crystal Tech is historically pretty difficult to climb through and go through for free-to-play players. I think one of the biggest areas of opportunity are the trials of the Kokarok. I think this is a lot of times a big point of contention for players, is that some of the there's 5 different difficulties of Kokarok, and like 3 of them, the third, fourth, and fifth open like after Kingsland fighting or something like insane like that, right? So like the timing of that's really weird, which means that you're going to get all the crystals for them after the relevant fighting has already happened, which is very bizarre, right? So things like that make it really difficult for free-to-play players to progress through the Crystal Tech system. And so maybe they're going to go back and look at maybe more ways to get crystals, or maybe they're just going to change Crystal Tech entirely, right? Like they could just change the buffs that are provided there. Who knows? The real important thing here though is that I want to be honest, I don't think they're going to get rid of Crystal Tech. That's my assumption, right? And if we have a system that is fair for both free-to-play and spenders, that would be much better, right? Wherein that if you spend, you can get 6 armies, 7 armies, and swarming down flags, fortresses, garrisons, rallies, etc. Like those are all stats and things that the whales care about, having those extra armies and the bonus swarm damage. And free-to-play players don't really care about that, right? Like a free-to-play player is not really looking to run 6, 7 armies because maybe they don't have the commanders and gear to do so anyway, right? They don't really care about swarming flags and rallies because they don't have the troops to do that anyway. So putting that like really good stuff that is good for whales but nobody else, put that at the end, which they've already done, right? But like more things like that near the end of the tree, and then being able to get all the relevant stuff that the free-to-play players care about earlier in the tree, that way all players have access to it. Like I think there's definitely an opportunity to at least optimize the Crystal Tech without removing it, because again guys, I just don't imagine that they're going to remove it. I feel like Crystal Tech is a very reliable source of income for Rise of Kingdoms, right? Like let's just be real, like, the game is a business, and it makes sense that they're going to keep things in the game that make the money, and I honestly don't see anything wrong with that, because they've got to keep the lights on, right? But also having a way to progress through that system free to play, if you're willing to grind and make meaningful progress, is really good, right? So I think any updates and optimizations that push this in a more friendly direction will be greatly welcomed by the community. I'm looking forward to see what they actually do there. Sorry that I cut that off for a little bit, my bad. Question 2, are there any plans to merge multiple kingdoms in the future? Answer: as the game continues to operate, the gap in the number of active players between kingdoms is increasing. Some kingdoms have difficulty organizing enough players to participate in Ark of Osiris, KVK, and other gameplay. In recent offline meetings and in-game surveys, many governors have expressed a desire to merge servers. We also believe that merging servers can alleviate this issue to some extent. However, given Rock's unique social environment, we will do our best to avoid merging servers through mandatory assignment of players by the system. This plan is underway, and when it is complete, we will announce it through a face-to-face with the developers and other forums. We look forward to your feedback. So this is also something that like has been a long time coming. I feel like there's just, we have, if we look in the game, the newest kingdom is kingdom 3746, right? Which I mean, 3,746 kingdoms is an insane amount of kingdoms. Okay. And there's just bound to be kingdoms that are completely dead. Right. And I know that there's even, you know, players that manipulate dead kingdoms for personal reasons, personal gain, whatever, which is obviously not great for the, you know, the environment of the game and the players that might be there. So, you know, I think they've done a lot already with giving players free passports in the Alliance shop, right, which is really nice. But at the same time, like, if you've got hundreds of dead kingdoms, then like you might as well merge them together and, you know, give those players a little bit of a lifeline, right? Because if you're trapped in a dead kingdom, then you're kind of screwed. You're not going to be able to really enjoy the game, right? It's a multiplayer game. If you're in a kingdom that's dead and there's no one there, that sucks. I think this is a good thing. The fact that they are aware of the fact that they don't want to force merge servers is really good, right? So maybe they're going to give kingdoms like the option, like maybe they're going to put the merging in the hands of the kings, right? So like there's maybe there'll be a way where, you know, first of all, a kingdom will have to meet in a certain requirement for merging, right? Like ultimately it's going to be the developer's decision. Is this kingdom eligible to merge or not? Yes or no. And then maybe it'll come to the kings to be like, okay, your kingdom is dead, you must merge. Here's a list of kingdoms that you can merge with, and maybe you'll get the choice to do that, right? I think that's how that's going to go. We'll have to wait and see, but I think this is ultimately a good thing. We'll have to see how they actually implement that. Moving on to question 3, what strategies are in place to encourage more players to return to Rise of Kingdoms? Answer: we've been enhancing the bonuses for returning players and addressing issues raised in the communities. By introducing the legendary commander swap and passport page automatic restock features, we aim to provide a better gaming experience for returning players. Additionally, we've been regularly releasing special events that provide incentives for governors to invite their former allies back to the game. So this is true, right? I think that the legendary swap and passport page feature are big, right? They're very big, because those are some of the biggest concerns or complaints that I've heard as a content creator. People comment on my videos saying like, hey, you know, I'm coming back to the game, but like I feel like I'm so far behind the meta, or like my kingdom's dead, or like I want to go back to an older kingdom but I can't get passport pages. So like these are definitely two extremely good changes that they've made to the game. But I'm wondering, like, if you were already in a Season of Conquest server, then you missed the commander swap, right? Like in SOC servers, that was a one and done type of thing. So I mean, I guess you could always migrate back to a KVK2 kingdom, I suppose, when you return to the game. I guess I don't know how that actually works. We'll have to, like, I guess maybe the devs can clarify that at some point. I have no idea, but I do like this a lot. I think moving forward with the remastered graphics, I think, like, I really am wondering what's taking them so long to implement this into all servers. And again, if you watched yesterday's video about the upcoming updates, then you'll know that they are turning on the ability to switch between the new and the old graphics for a select number of kingdoms, right? And also a lot of the new servers already have just the new graphics by default, which is very good. So what I would hope is that a returning player would land back into Rise of Kingdoms, and by default the remastered graphics would be turned on, right? That would be my goal, because then the new players come back and they say, wow, like Rise of Kingdoms, like it's apparent, it's obvious, it's right in their face, like boom, the game looks different, it looks better, they've updated everything, right? This is not the Rise of Kingdoms that you quit. This is a whole new beast entirely, because ultimately if you quit like 2 or 3 years ago, it's a completely different game, right? So it should look completely different, and it should look a lot better, which it does with the remastered graphics. Right now, I do support the ability to turn the new graphics off if you prefer the old graphics. I mean, that's fine if that is logistically possible for the developers to continue to upkeep into the future. Amazing, right? Amazing. If they can do that without too much like labor intensive work, great. Like the best of both worlds, let's have it, right? I know a lot of players like the older graphics, but for me, I would say a returning player should come back and they should see the remastered graphics no matter what kingdom they're in. That should be the number one thing. Like they should come back and it should like zoom out of their city and like show them, like pan across the world and just show them like, look, the game looks completely different. And then it should be like, hey, you should migrate back to this kingdom so you can get this commander swap feature, get you back up and running, get you these new commanders that came into the game, get King Arthur, whatever, and get them up and running, right? Because if a new player comes back and they instantly get, you know, 1 or 2 meta commanders, right, and they see that the game has been way optimized, updated, it's beautiful, then they're more likely to be like, oh, like I'm gonna give this game another shot because I have been basically given another chance. I've been given the meta, I've been given, you know, just this new opportunity. Maybe I'll really enjoy the game this time, right? However, the big challenge then would be, how do you market the game to players who quit, right? I think that these special events that give players like gems and stuff like that for coming back to the game is nice, and I've seen that work, right? In the King Arthur event that recently passed, I had players use all of my codes, right? Like I put my code in a video and quickly they were all claimed, which was really cool. So shout out to you guys if you got that. But, and also thanks for the gems, by the way. But I think that we need to leave that in the game permanently, right? I think that why not, right? Why not leave that in the game permanently? Why is that a limited time thing, right? Now I can see them doing, like, let's say for really big events like the King Arthur event, for example, maybe they increase the rewards for coming back to the game. I think that would be cool. But I think by default there should always be a referral code, right? Like I should always have a referral code to, you know, influence players to come back to the game. Why not, right? Why not do that? It costs them really nothing, especially when you consider that, you know, marketing games like ROK are quite expensive, right? I know that Lilith probably spends a ton of money on marketing. I mean, I'm a YouTuber, I see it on the back end on the YouTube dashboard. I see, you know, when the advertising spikes happen for Rise of Kingdoms, I know that they have big marketing pushes for this game. And so to have just all the time baked in an incentive to invite players back would make sense, right? Because like sometimes I'll have players, you know, I'll have old friends of mine reach out and be like, yo, I'm trying to get back into rock, do you think it's a good time? And my answer is always yes, but wouldn't it be great if I could be like, hey, yes, and here's my code to, or here's a tracking link to download the game, and if they download the game with my tracking link, then I get, you know, a few hundred gems in game and they get a few hundred gems, or whatever the case might be, right? I think they should just always have it. I don't see the reason why they don't just have it all the time. That's just my opinion. It seems like a win-win for everybody and encourages players to market the game to friends that quit all year round instead of just during special events, and it costs Lilith pretty much nothing. So that's my 2 cents. But that's only going to go so far, right? They're obviously going to have to figure out some sort of marketing strategy to target players who used to play the game but quit, and I think that they can do that. I think that their marketing team is actually really good, but like they gotta make sure that the returning player experience is like 10 out of 10 S tier, and then turn that marketing push on with a big event. And I think that could move the needle for sure. Question 4: many players develop their accounts on old servers before immigrating to new ones, disrupting the game balance. How do you view this issue? Beginners immigration was originally designed to allow new players who wanted to play with friends from other servers to switch servers early in the game without having to re-register. We are aware that some players are using this feature to gain an advantage on new servers. We will review it to ensure a fair gaming environment. You guys kind of know my stance on this already if you guys have watched any of my previous videos, and my stance on this is, you know, maybe unpopular to some players, but I do think that protecting the brand new player experience is like the #1 priority, right? So if there's any sort of jumping sleeper strategy, like big jumper group project, whatever, and it's like crushing the new player experience, then unfortunately I do think they have to cut down on that, right? And like I know some small number of players do like the jumping strategy, they like the jumper groups, whatever, but the truth is that the average casual player is not going to download Rise of Kingdoms, learn about jumping, go to some Discord server, look for a jumper group, and then create a new character and wait like a week for everyone to like jump together. Like it's fun if you know what you're doing and if you've played the game for a long time, right? It's a great strategy, but for the brand new casual player, they're not going to do any of that work. They're simply not. Like very few players are going to do that, right? You have to be like mega invested on day one to even consider doing any of that. 99% of players will not do that. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to start the game and be like, whoa, this one alliance in my new kingdom is like way more powerful than everybody else. Oh my God, they're running the game, they're running the show. Like if I'm not friendly with them, or if I don't like them, then like they just run the server and then GG. If you don't like them, you quit, right? Like the early game can't be optimized to cater to this small group of people that like to do jumper projects and sleeper projects and things like that, right? It simply can't. As much fun as it is, and as much as you can get an advantage, and as much as that's good for free-to-play players, I understand that, but what's more important than that, of course, is the brand new player experience, right? Because without new players joining the game and loving it and sticking around, the game dies in the long run, right? right? So like regardless of how you personally feel about jumping, if you love it, like I get that, but at the end of the day, the health of the game takes priority over your personal, like you like to play it in this one weird way, right? Like of course it has to, right? And I know that maybe it's unpopular and maybe players don't want to hear that, but the truth is like the new player experience will always take priority over jumping, and that's kind of an open and shut case, and it has to, right? Whether you like it or not, it has to, they have to do that. Of course they do, right? That's what's best for the game, and they're always going to do that. Question 5, will the combat experience on mobile devices be optimized? While Rock is designed as a mobile game, the KVK combat experience is much smoother on PC. Answer 5, through recent updates we've introduced several features such as quick command and filter mode to improve the combat experience on mobile devices. We'll continue our efforts in this area, and they're right. I think that they've added some insanely good quality of life updates for mobile players. I've even attempted playing on mobile and it has definitely been a bit better, right? In my upcoming KVK, maybe I'll try it a little bit more depending on if I need to play on mobile or not, but the point is that they actually have done a lot to make mobile better. But the truth is that it's never going to be better than PC unless they go out of their way to make the PC experience worse, right? That's really the truth. I mean, PCs, like if you have a decent PC, it's just always going to be better than a mobile device, right? Because you've got like all the keys on your keyboard that you can use as hotkeys, and the mouse and the pointer is just so precise compared to like a fat finger on a phone screen, right? Maybe that's a problem that's unique to us Americans, just being fat, but it is what it is. There's a reason that PC gaming is like the #1 place to go for any professional esport, whatever. And of course ROK is never really going to have an esports scene, I don't think. I mean, it could, maybe, who knows, but like it just, the game by default, just the way that it's built, maybe not, right? But my point is that the reason that PC is always the premier experience for any game, whether it's League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, Marvel Rivals, Fortnite, whatever, it's because PC is just always it's just the best hardware for the highest level of playing a game, and that's just the reality of it, right? So there's only so much that they can do. They've done a lot of great things to make it better, and I'm glad that they're going to keep working on it, but I just want to be very clear with you guys that it's never going to be better to play on mobile than PC, right? Maybe they can get it to where it's close, and I hope they do, but it's never going to be better, right? So I just want to set that expectation. And finally, the last question, will there be more long-ranged units? Currently there are too many of them, and it compromises the combat of Rock. Players prefer to attack with long-range units, and it can easily spoil the fun. So long-range units, I assume they're talking about ranged units, right? We are still preparing for the new engineering commander, but with caution and focusing on the balance of power on the battlefield. In fact, we have been closely monitoring the battlefield performance of long-range units and have noted some of the issues and concerns raised by governors. In the future, we will continue to make adjustments to long-range units to achieve a relative balance between long-range and melee units on the battlefield. I think this is a fair answer, right? I don't know what they mean by they're preparing the new engineering commander, right? Like we just got engineering commanders, so was this question asked before the most recent ones? I have no idea, but I do think that this is a valid question here, because the truth about ranged, right, is that they get really good reports strictly because they're not targeted back, right? Like if they're far enough removed from the murder ball, they're just farming free kills, and it's not that ranged inherently is better. It's objectively not. It's the same battle formula, it's the same stats, it's the same base stats for units, right? Like there's literally nothing special about range damage versus regular damage in the game, whether it's normal damage, skill damage, whatever. Like it's all the same battle formula. We're still operating within the same game. The only reason that range gets such good reports is because they're hitting targets that aren't hitting them back, right? And if you've ever hit a target, even in melee, if you've ever hit a target that's just standing there, somebody's AFK, you get an insane report, right? And that's effectively what ranged are getting against players that are actively playing the game. There's just nothing they can do about it because the range is outside of the murder ball, and like that's the point of range, right? Like that's the whole point, is that, you know, you can strategically set up your ranged units in a way where you can support the battlefield without being in the heat of battle. And so ranged are doing exactly what they were, you know, implemented to do. But I do see where players feel like it's unfair, right? Because like you're getting all these insane kills and kill points, and you're like not even necessarily part of the murder ball that's like pushing into the enemy territory, right? Like you are, but like you got to break down your thing and then you got to walk and just set it up again. And it's like, really, it's the murder ball that's controlling the battlefield and the ranged commanders are merely supporting them, which again was the whole point of range, obviously, right? But for the support units to be getting better trades than the units that are actually moving the needle, that doesn't feel good for a lot of people, obviously, right? And so I think this is completely fair. And I also think that this is, I mean, I even saw it in my latest KVK, like there was more range units than ever, right? Because players are going to do what's in their best interest. If they see that ranged get insane trades, well, they're going to make a ranged march. And as that continues to be the case, there's going to be more and more ranged units until an equilibrium is you know, reached, right? If your whole alliance is using ranged and nobody is forming a murder ball, well, then good luck trying to capture a flag. But I think the point of this is that long range units, they have a different risk reward ratio that the melee players feel is unfair. And like even to this day, while ranged units have gotten more popular, of course, they're very strong, so of course they've gotten more popular, I still think that the ranged gameplay, like the actual using ranged units, I don't think it's very popular. I think a lot of players use it because they feel like they have to use it, especially like the mega whales who are running 7 armies. They kind of feel like, oh, okay, well, like in the best 7 army lineup, I guess I'm into Cordoba, right? Like so they kind of feel like they need to do it, and that's fine. But you never want to have a meta where you have something that you feel like you need to use. That's not good, right? That's not great for the future of the game. So in a world where, you know, the risk reward ratio feels really good for ranged, but the gameplay doesn't necessarily vibe with a lot of players, I can understand the concern for wanting these to be, you know, I guess, well, they're probably not going to nerf them, but they're probably just going to power creep the murder ball marches and just kind of leave ranged where they are for now. I have no idea what they're doing, but they are aware of the concerns and they're working on it. So we'll have to wait and see what that actually means. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for the most recent face-to-face with the developers. Let me know what you think about these answers in the comment section below. Do you feel like the developers are in tune with what the players really want for Rise of Kingdoms? Let me know in the comment section below. Are you excited for the future of the game with the new changes to the armament system and everything that we talked about today? I want to know what you guys think down below. And while you're down there, drop a thumbs up on the video. It really helps out the channel a ton. It helps get this video out into the YouTube algorithm so other Rise of Kingdoms players might see it. And while you're down there, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell to be notified the next time I upload a Rise of Kingdoms video. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.